Hello everybody, my name is Torque and today we are taking a look at another two figures. Today we have the Star Wars The Clone Wars Commando Droid and Savage Opress. It's spelled Savage, but in the show they pronounce it Savage, so that's how I'm going to pronounce it. So, who are these characters? Well, on the back of the box there's a brief description, so if you want to read that you can go ahead and pause it. But brief synopsis is the Commando droids are the BX series droids. They were manufactured by the Separatists for elite missions, similar to like a clone Commando, except the droid version. And Savage is the brother of Darth Maul. They both share a mother, and so they are actually brothers. And so far, Savage has only appeared in the Clone Wars TV show. There is no live-action version of him, and so when taking a look at the figure, there's not going to be a likeness comparison. Alright, well, let's get them out of the box and take a closer look. Alright, we have the Commando droid and Savage out of their packaging. First, we're going to take a look at the Commando droid, and then we'll take a look at Savage. So let's pull him out of the way and take a closer look at the BX Commando droid. So first we'll go over the paint details. He is painted in this kind of purplish color, which is very similar to what was in the show, along with these bronze accents on the arms, legs, and at the base of the mouth. He also has this painted red dot, which is a sensor on droids, and then he has some sculpted detail on his back, as well as the eyes are painted this whitish blue to look like they're glowing. Next, we'll take a look at the articulation. This Commando droid has a lot of it. So first we'll start at the head, which we have a ball joint at the top, and then we have a hinge at the bottom so the ball joint can spin, but then at the base of the neck there is also a swivel, so it can go all the way around. It's a bit harder to get than the normal head, but there we go. Then at the shoulders we have another ball joint with a hinge. If it will focus, we got a hinge. You can go up that far and then all the way around. They can rest in a nice neutral stance, and they're not splayed out from the body if you try to get him to stay neutral. At the elbow we have a swivel and a hinge, which mine's a little tight. There we go. Can crunch that far, and it can also go the other way the same distance. Same thing on the left side. And then at the hands we have a in and out hinge with a swivel that goes all the way around. Oh, kitty cat saying hi. Get him out of camera. He got his 5 seconds of fame. So, but for the hands, they are both just that in and out hinge with a swivel on both sides. So at the chest there is a swivel, but a very minimal back and forth, so he can't look back that far using the torso. But the neck has a ton of down movement, as seen here, and you can rotate it around like so to get it to go all the way back. Head has a lot of movement, more than the I can't remember what droid I had. Unfortunately, I no longer have my B1 battle droids, but it was them. Their head movement was similar. So, but I unfortunately don't have any more to put on camera. So, but down to the hips, we have another ball joint for each side that can go all the way, so it can do a full 360 if the arm was not in the way. But because it's a ball joint, there is hardly any swivel to it. You can get minimal movement, but it can go out that far and then goes fairly straight inwards. And at the knees, same thing with the elbows. It's a hinge with a swivel. And then down the ankles, we have another hinge with a toe rocker. So for stability wise, I haven't had any issue just putting it in a pose and setting it down. I have not needed to grab a stand yet. As with a lot of figures, some of them have really weak ankles, so they just face plant. But so far, my Commando droid has not. And so he is able to get into a kneeling stance quite easily, better than a lot of other troop units in the line. So, the knee can go about that far. I already can't remember if I did that or showed that off. So, alright. So, get splayed out. And there we go. Oh. I can get him in. He can kneel fairly well. He's not as stable. So this is a case where you would take a stand like this and just need to stick 1 foot on it, and then it would just help give him some stability. So he is able to get into a kneeling pose thanks to all the nice loose movement. It's not a stiff, kind of like the B2 battle droids. They are very stiff in their articulation. He does come with 2 items. He comes with his vibro sword, which is painted this really light purple with a white fade on the blade because it is a vibro sword and it has an energy effect on it. So that is demonstrated with this white there. It does look very kind of plasticky. You don't get a very good metal look to it at all, unfortunately. I wish that purple was a lot darker, because in the show it is a lot darker. But thanks to the way the hands are, you can just push it in at the thumb, twist, and he holds it very securely. It also has this peg on it, which if you notice during the articulation, you can plug it into the back of this Commando droid and have him holding it ready to use. Next, he comes with the standard droid blaster. We've seen this many times with battle droids, or even the older Padme Amidala, she came with one of these. So same thing with the sword, he can hold it very securely, it's not going anywhere. And also, he can two-hand it very easily. You can wrap his hand around the base of it without having to stretch the fingers at all. And so overall, this is a really good representation of the BX Commando droid, and I'm gonna have to end up getting 1 or 2 more of these to fill out my display. So, but for size comparisons, I'm just gonna set him on the stand here. Oop. Now he has trouble standing. There we go. Okay. Size comparison here is the Black Series Clone Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. See if he will, there we go. He will stand. So about the same height with that. And then here is ARC Trooper 5s for another size comparison. So it's shorter than the standard ARC Trooper body, but it will fit in around the size of a B1 droid. I wish I had one for a size comparison, but fortunately I don't. But yeah, overall it looks really good, and it has the right paint, and so we'll get it out of the way to take a look at Savage. Here we have Savage. Of the two, Savage is my favorite, just as a character. Both Maul and Savage have always been one of my top favorite villains. So, take a look at his face. He doesn't have a live action actor to compare to, so we can compare it to the animation, which it does not hit the mark quite. The yellow is a bit darker, more of a mustardy color than the bright yellow that his face was in the show. So we can take a look. The hands are a different color than the head itself. You can see the hands are a lot closer to what his face should be, but the face is just that much darker. When he's standing at a neutral stance, it doesn't pop out that much of a difference, but if you're looking for it, you can tell. So unfortunately, that is very similar to like the Commander Bakara, where the paint just isn't quite what it should be, because they painted Bakara pink instead of that maroon. But overall, the tattoos on his face are really nicely painted on there. They're not messy. He has kind of like an eyeshadow, if it will focus. There we go. And he does have eyes painted, but the way his forehead is it casts a little bit much of a shadow. You can't really see the eyes. But then he does have his horns, which are rubbery. They would still break off if you tried to, but for the most part, they're not too hard. So there's no puncture warning. And then we go down to his shoulder pads. His shoulder pads are similar to like on a clone trooper, where they have this ring around, and the way they're sculpted, they don't move much, but they can get out of the way to a degree. So, then we go down. He has this kind of worn look to his armor, of this kind of lighter gray over the dark, to show like he's been in a battlefield of there's dust, and doesn't have any blast marks, but he does have somewhat of wear and tear. And then continuing down to his gauntlets, they are just a little bit of a bluish gray, different from the torso. The shoulder pads have the same up underneath. The camera can see it. And so that it doesn't detract from the whole figure. Like, it doesn't stand out. It just it matches really well, especially with his purple skirt here, which will go down. His skirt is soft goods, but it doesn't have a cut. And so if you like have him go like that, it will bunch instead of having a cut in the back like a lot of the soft good capes. So it will bunch up, but it shouldn't rip or tear. It has quite a bit of stretch to it. So then he has his waist cape, or I guess this is a front skirt, which this is hard plastic and it's sculpted flowing to the side. And then it also has some sculpted detail on it that is then painted silver. And so it sticks out nicely against that purple. So then we go down to the legs, which are a darker purple color than the waist cape. But then you go down to the boots and it's even lighter of a color. It matches perfectly with shadow. You don't have to worry. It doesn't stick out like a really bright purple. It just melds really nice. And then we also have some more of that wear and tear on the metal of his boots, where the paint has kind of like worn away at spots. And so then he also has at the toe, it's painted. They look like heavy duty work boots. And then there's also these straps painted at the boots. They're painted a really dark purple, almost a grayish. And so they stick out just a little bit from the boots purple. And then the buckles themselves are painted this nice silver. So I skipped over his belt a little bit. He does have a sculpted belt buckle that's painted a lighter gray. And then he has a sculpted kind of black loop around, which goes to his lightsaber hook. And then you got some more detail on the back, like some scrunches to the shirt to show that it's not just like a metal. And so Overall, some really nice detail on the figure itself. It captures that image of Savage perfectly. Of he's this hulking mass of a dude who his only purpose is to hunt whatever he's been set on. All my animals are saying hi today. So we'll take a look at his articulation before we take a look at the items he comes with. So at the head, we have a ball joint, and so he can look down that far, he can look back that far, and then he has some side to side. At the neck, it looks like, yeah, okay, so there is a little bit of a swivel at the neck, which can go all the way around. But it is a lot tighter to move than just the head, which I like because some figures, that neck gets turned around if you move their head too much. So next we go down the shoulders. I demonstrated with the shoulder pads a little bit, but he does have a butterfly joint, so he is able to go fully across his chest. And then he has also a hinge, can go up that far. It is hindered by the shoulder pad a little bit, but the shoulder pads have a nice cut in them, so it doesn't crush into it, leaving dents. So then moving down, he has a single joint elbow, which can crunch in that far. And then it also has a swivel on it. And down the wrist, both wrists are in and out hinges, kind of hidden by the cuff of his gauntlet, which is a separate piece. So you can kind of move it around on his arm, but overall it stays in place. So it is hindered. You can kind of see that joint there, but for the most part it is hindered. You get very minimal movement due to the gauntlets being that cut that they are. So it actually looks like they are a ball joint and not an actual hinge, which would make sense. So the left hand is a lot looser on mine than the right, but overall you get some nice movement out of the hand. So at the waist, we have a crunch. We have an ab crunch, goes forward that far, back that far, and he has another one at his waist, and so he has quite a lot of movement from both of those together. So then at the hips, it is a newer figure, so there is no cut for a thigh swivel, but at the ball joint you do have some movement, and then down at the knee you have a hinge and swivel. And at the ankle we have an in and out hinge with a toe rocker. So for the most part, his articulation is gonna do what he needs it to. As I was saying earlier, and you kind of saw with that fabric, it got bunched up and it got stuck towards the top because of it. But shouldn't be too much of a problem, as it was just a simple tug and it went back. So next we'll take a look at what he comes with. First off, we'll take a look at his lightsaber. This was given to him by Count Dooku, and so it's molded in this really bland light gray, almost a white, instead of like a metallic silver it should be, but it does have some darker gray accents on it along with the red ignition switch. The blades are not pegged in, they are loose and come in and out very easily, so you don't have to worry too much about that peg snapping because it's too tight. He is able to grab it really nicely. It takes a little bit of finagling because of that loop, but he is able to hold it with one hand securely, and then he's able to, thanks to having soft fingers, get into a two-handed pose fairly easily. There we go. So he is able to hold it for his signature like block that he does. I forgot to mention, he does have his nails, or his claws, are painted on his fingers. So he is able to hold it. Then you can pull out the blades. And just take care of his hands. And then it does have that loop on the one emitter on the main emitter, which he then can hang on his belt loop right there. Savage also is a very stable figure. I'm not using a stand right now for him either. Next, he comes with his battle axe. This thing is huge. It is taller than the figure itself, or longer. He is also able to hold it just as easily, but it's not as secure of a grip unless you hold it at this more extended part, which will stretch out your fingers. All right. I'll cut this out. And so for size comparison, Savage is technically a deluxe figure. So I grabbed two other deluxe figures. I have Darth Malgus, as well as the recent release Jedi Master Kel Naka from the Acolyte. You can boo in the comments. So Savage is in between the two. He is roughly the same height as Malgus, and he's just a little bit shorter than Kel Naka. So pull these two out. Oop. I knocked him over. And so I also, for comparison, brought in his brother Maul. I unfortunately do not have the Clone Wars Maul, so I grabbed the closest thing I did have, which is the old Master Maul. And so you can see that there is quite a bit of height difference between the two. So Savage hits that perfectly from the show of he was a lot taller than Maul. So overall, I'd say 8 out of 10 figure. The only downside is there's no cut in that waist cape, and the face paint is a little off. For the BX Commando droid, I would give it the same rating. The only downside was its vibro blade was not, or is painted that really ugly shade of pink. But overall, they're both really good figures, and they'll make fine additions to the collection. Thank you for watching, and see you later.